Hello and welcome to another episode of OSA TV. This is another segment in our running series, What is a Fish? So today we're going to be tackling a classic reef fish, one that arguably is more well known than any other of all time. And that is the anemone fish, the Amphiprionidae. Believe it or not, these guys are actually damselfish. They're just a really weird offshoot of damselfish that became their own thing in the Indo-Pacific, and because of that, we now have this family of fish known as the clownfish. So these guys vary in size from the more larger species like the maroon clownfish, the tomato clownfish, to the more smaller species like the Ocellaris clownfish and the Percola clownfish. But we'll look at some things that unite this family, and then we'll briefly talk about their life history and their role in the reef industry in the future. Firstly, they are damselfish, albeit a modified version of damselfish, but you can see all clownfish have this kind of stout, kind of circular swimming motion. So they're always designed to be in areas of flow, but inside little pockets of shelter at the same time. So these guys have adapted to have a symbiotic relationship with anemones and other corals and certain other organisms, where these guys in the wild adopt a little society, and little groups of them will hang around anemones and the like. They will feed the anemone, take out parasites and the like. In return, the anemone will provide them with all kinds of shelter and defense, and the clownfish's poop will actually in turn help fertilize the anemone. So because of that, these guys have evolved to be not very charismatic swimmers, as they never really want to stray from the structure which gives them life. So these guys are kind of interesting sexually. The largest of any particular group will become a female, and then the second will become a male. And then you will have those two that will pair up, and then those will be competent, and if nutritional conditions are satisfied, they'll lay eggs. But all the rest that aren't the male or the female, they're just going to be neutral. So clownfish behavior, especially in the aquarium, can be highly contextualized based on how many clownfish you have and how much space. So these guys are all siblings of each other, because these guys are all aquaculture. They're actually aquaculture at a local university, Roger Williams University. These guys are all basically more or less sexually ambivalent right now. But the second we'll isolate them into different aquaria, or if they're sold out and scattered, if they're alone, eventually they'll turn into a female, but if they're in a pair, eventually the biggest one will turn into a female, and the second one will turn into a male. The anemone fish are shared also in the fact that they have adhesive eggs. Most marine fish will scatter their eggs and release their eggs out into the ocean, and that's why they're so darn difficult to raise. These guys are really cool because they will lay their eggs on a particular piece of substrate, and they'll take care of their eggs, and they'll clean their eggs, and once the eggs are silvering up and you can almost see the little embryos popping through, then you know that they'll be able to hatch within 48 hours. And at that point, the piece of substrate, be it a piece of live rock or a little chunk of glass or a cut in half flower pot, can be transported to another aquaria, and then clownfish can be raised from the larval state relatively easily. Oftentimes, these guys are recommended to be the first or second things added to the tank because they're very hardy. They can survive a very wide range of conditions, and they're an excellent first fish to have to start that nitrogen cycle, where you don't necessarily have something that's a very robust tank yet, so you don't want something too fragile, but a clownfish can help get that process started. So, for all these reasons, clownfish, they're just excellent. Hardy, one of the most charismatic and well-known hallmark species in the hobby, very easy to do, and they've also been aquaculture to the point where the vast majority of clownfish available in the hobby today are aquacultured. And as a result, we have regular Ocellaris clownfishes, we have all these awesome different color morphs that are only possible because of selective breeding. So come on down and pick one up today.